So I'll just quickly start with the presentation. So before we start, there is a joke. So there is an office joke. So if you see, the joke says, "Do you believe that there is a life after death?" No, that can be proved. So boss says, "Well, there is enough. Yesterday, after you left work, saying that you have to go to your grandma's funeral, she called the office looking for you." So it's a joke. It's not like that just because you have to take a sick leave or you have to take an emergency leave, you will kill your grandfathers and grandmas just for a leave. That's not that I'm saying, but this is one of a joke which is very popular to avail a sick leaves. uh, I'm not sure about the people you ever heard, but I can definitely say Akshay or Sahiti at least would have heard once in their working span. Yes, Sahiti, Akshay.
Oh, definitely. Not once. Like we'll hear at least 2 to 3 once in every 2 to 3 weeks we'll hear this.
Exactly.
I mean, for a leave, for an early logout, we can do anything. I mean, we can, bring people to life. We can kill people. It's something like that. But yeah, jokes apart. Yeah, that's true.
Yes. Yep. So coming to the business communication. So I told you like what exactly the business communication. So I'll not make you. I mean, I'll not make you understand what exactly bases on a book. In simple, business communication is being responsible and sharing the info to the other person and making sure whatever the communication that has been shared is been understood by the other person with fair and square. So we have some rules, or I would say we have some set of guidelines that needs to be understand when you say or when I say for a business communication. Okay, so in level of corporates or in level of any business, so there is seven C's of communication. So we generally call it a seven C's of effective communication. uh, Rather it can be in terms of, so either it can be in SPECANCIENS, either it can be in office, either it can be in business, wherever a professional network is there, everywhere the seven C's of communication will be applicable, right? So first is completeness, second is conciseness, third is consideration, fourth is clarity, fifth is concreteness, sixth is courtesy, and seventh is correctness. So I'll repeat it again. So we have seven C's of communication, which is completeness, conciseness, consideration, clarity, concreteness, courtesy, and correctness. Yep. So moving to next slide. What is completeness? So completeness is, I mean, the name states itself that whatever the communication that is necessary, it should be made completely. The audience should receive all the information they require from it. The sender must take a receiver's viewpoint into account and correctly relay the message. So I'll just give you one complete example. So initially, when I started with the question that I told you a scenario, right? So I intentionally have not given you a complete statement. I mean, I have given a mixed statement that you should give a response of Imran in that situation, or you should give response of Akshay situation. I mean, so from my end, I deliberately not given that complete information just to check if anyone is actually asking a question. And Sahiti has pointed out that what exactly do you want? See, that's so in that particular scenario, because I haven't give you a complete message, which is actually required, Sahitya again has to make sure or double check that is this the complete info or is there any other info that is needed. So that is the importance of completeness. So whenever you're not giving an information completely and or if you are giving an information incompletely, people might assume that this particular part is the only thing that needs to be done, and there could be a scenario where it might affect a. So if we are not doing any complete communication, there could be misses in details that is very required for a project. Okay, so that's what about the completeness is. The first C in the communication is completeness. So complete communication always offers an extra details as required. It removes all uncertainty from the receiver's mind, and audience or readers or message recipients can make a better decision just because they have all access to the necessary information. Okay. Now, second is conciseness. So, coming to conciseness, in short or in one line, conciseness is nothing but making or using a minimal words to have an effective communication. Okay, so when I say, so again, for example, let's go again back to the Akshay's Jira. So when Akshay was speaking, so Akshay was very concise about we have a dashboard. There is a tool called Jira. In the dashboard, we have different backlogs that we have. In while creating a ticket, either it's an epic or it's a bug or it's a statement. So Akshay was very concise. He was not over communicating or he was not giving you too much technical details. So he was making sure कि so you have a tool called Jira, and in Jira you have this option, you have this option. By taking this option, by clicking on a bug, you can report a bug and all, right? So that's the communication that has been given by Akshay in Jira scenario is very concise. It's very specific to what the topic is about, and that's the core message. Akshay was not giving about we can import this particular project from uh, what is a GitHub, download this particular project, integrated. So he was not too technical about the stuff. He was the topic is about Jira, just to give you an understand how Jira looks, and the topic or the presentation was completely about that particular topic. So that is the importance of conciseness in the communication. Be specific to your topic. Okay. Consideration. Consideration is like you have to understand about others as well. So whenever you are when you're doing a communication, so you have to consider a person's opinion, a person's background, person's mindset, education level, and so on. So in in the business communications generally, obviously everyone would have a degree so they can understand a basic English. So there could be some scenarios where you have to do a government project and you are, for example, again, so if you're doing a government project and you have to interact with the people who might not have a very sound knowledge in English, or they might not have a very sound idea in technologies that you have been implementing. So just so if, for example, Akshay, sorry, again, I'm using your example. So let's say Akshay is an owner of a business, and Akshay might not know anything about a technical stuff, but Akshay is looking for a ticketing tool or an invoice app where you guys have to explain to Akshay. So you can't go to Akshay and say we this is Jira, or we are using Salesforce, or we are using cloud for database. You can't give those technical information to Akshay because he doesn't have a clear knowledge about those tools. So your so you have to consider that background about Akshay, and you have to make a presentation that is suitable to him. So it can be about an opinion, it can be a mindset as well. So some peoples are always tend to ask questions. They might go very minute about the details. So you have to consider those that okay. So this particular person might have this question, or this particular person might have some difficulty or understanding this particular thing. So you have to take that into consideration, and you have to modify your message. Okay, so sometimes you have to act it spontaneously, and you have to make sure that whatever the message you are trying to deliver is been delivered, taking consideration of the backgrounds or the education level or the opinion. In one line, make sure uh, you take what is the opposite person, I mean, what opposite person, how he understand. You have to take that into consideration and deliver your speech. Next is clarity, the fourth C of the communication. So whenever you are able to transmit your thoughts into recipient mind with an effective communication, it means there are people, for example, there are people who might not understand in one go. There are people who might not understand in two times. But there are some people, if you say it for five times, or if you say a term into an another way. So uh, let's say I'm giving you a speech, and suddenly I call out uh, suddenly I call out one person and say that, are you not sophisticated? So the moment you heard a sophisticated, people might not understand what a sophisticated mean, right? So what will be your so you should make sure that uh, instead of sophistication, you can use a term comfortable. So make sure that you're using the right terms and using the right words to give that clarity to have a effective communication. It's always, you will always find a scenario where you have to explain one thing to multiple times, even to your manager or your subordinates. But the most important, one of the important that we have to remember is, whatever information that is you're giving, you have to give it with a clarity. So make it very simple. Don't try to complicate with the words, or don't try to complicate with the technicalities. Just try to make it as simple as possible so that you can give a clarity to another person. Okay. Concreteness. So concreteness is completely based on the evidence. Okay, so whenever you are projecting any details about a client, or let's say, for example, I'll give you an example. So let's say we have a recent annual alumni meet, right, on December, and let's say, as a coordinator, one of the coordinators, social media team or reporting team is going to TV Ready Sir and speaking about the event, for example. So now TV Ready Sir's question will be, how was the event? So you could say it's great or it's good. The event went better and all. And TV sir might ask you about few more questions, like how many people have received the gifts, or how many people have ate the food, or how many people have took the selfies, or how many people have responded to us, how many people have registered to us. So he might have a very specific questions about the event. Just because you're a coordinator, you can't just simply go to TV Register and just say, yeah, we have like approx 100 people who have been registered. We have 120 plates that has been finished. You have 150 sodas or 150 water bottles that has been finished. You can't give those vague answers. So always you have to make sure you are ready with the numbers or the facts. Whatever the question it is, if you have a registry maintained, make sure whatever the communication is happening, you have to make it documented, so that if anyone asks in future saying that I need this detail, you have it documented and statistics, so that no one will question you ever again. And this is one of the most important things in corporate offices, uh, if you are doing a meeting, so let's say, so again an example, so we have a reporting team here. So Sahiti in middle of a meeting asked the reporting team to take the MOMs and to share it. Why do you think it will be happening? Because in future, if someone comes to audit and says, I mean, if we say that okay, we have done this workshop for students, what is a proof? This MOM is a proof. So that is the importance of uh, uh, having a fact or having a documented evidence, so that if anyone again asks in future that what is the purpose of this meeting or what is the evidence of this meeting, this MOM or that documented proof acts as your savior. Okay. Next is courtesy. So when it comes to courtesy, a sender should always be a honest, polite, prudent, contemplative, empathetic, and enthusiastic. So again, coming to the question. So at the start, I asked you to drop a line like what will be your response for these things, right? So that's so the main point of that particular question is about the courtesy. So everyone has responded stating that due to some emergency, I have to take a leave or I couldn't make it sure about the meeting. But I'll try to share the details as quickly as possible, as soon as possible. So there, you are being honest that you are unable to attend the meeting due to some emergency, and you're trying to be a responsible employee and making sure the opposite person is getting those details. Similarly, when it comes to Akshay, so if Akshay would of Akshay in a managerial positions, they generally say they will give you an empathetic reply. They will always be very empathetic until or unless there is some issues, but the managers or the higher management will always be empathetic. They understand your situation, and they'll try to make sure there is a backup, or else at least they'll ask you like which is important, or if it's important or it can be managed. If it's not really unable to manage in that situation, they'll be empathetic, saying that yes, I understand your situation, but this is one thing I would expect. Just tell me or just give me a backup so that I can make sure it is happen. So that's how an empathetic bosses will respond. That's how they show a courtesy. That is one of the that is one of the mode of communication that people will have. It's always great you show a courtesy to a person. Just because you're a boss or just because you're just an employee, you can't show or you can't be rude to another person. Okay. Next is correctness. So correctness is again making sure there is no grammatical errors in communication. So let's say uh, if so there is, I mean, I'll just give you one example. So there is one message from a boss saying that so for example, let's for social media team, Akshay or me or Sirish just posted a question that, hey team, let's say yesterday it was Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj anniversary. Can you just make a post? And one of the team member just mentioned I can instead of I can't. Okay, he just missed a T. Just because one person has mentioned I can, obviously the other team members would think that okay, because this person has responded, maybe that person will take a responsibility and share it. Obviously, even with me or even with Sirish or even with Akshay, we will think in a way ki, because that person has responded I can, we will just wait for that particular post, and the day is almost done but we still haven't received the information that we were expecting. So in this particular scenario, just because he missed that particular alphabet, that is T, due to a grammatical error in communication, there is a mess in a work. Okay, so it's always important whenever you are doing a communication, make sure either it's good to take a pause and communicate, but just don't go or just don't speak very blindly, so that there is a miscommunication that has happened, because and there is no correct information that has been given, and it could jeopardize the situation. Okay, so the key takeaways of these 7 C's of communication: send and receive the effective communications with corporation, organization and business. Okay, and goals of the corporate communication is to build a relationship, encourage learning, having a trust, and promote a favorable public image. Business communication takes place always internally or externally. It depends on what type or what mode. And the other possible directions, upstream, downward, or peer to peer. So it can be with managers or with your with your employees, or it can be employee to employee with the peer to peer. Okay, so again, just reiterating the 7 C's. One is completeness, conciseness, consideration, clarity, concreteness, courtesy, and correctness. So before we go to the modes and etiquettes of communication, any questions, guys? Open for questions.
Thanks, Syed. Team, floor is open for communication. Any example you would like to know about, anything you would like to ask? This is the right time before we move on to the next section of these presentation. Team, and yes, I don't want the same people to again ask until otherwise if we don't have anyone new asking any questions. Yeah, team, floor is open for questions. Um, I don't see anyone raising hands. Sayed, I have one question. I mean, that I think
Yes.
this is something which will help. Okay,
Yeah.
and
Sure.
Neeraj also sitting with me, so he also has a similar kind of query.
Okay.
So, what about biases, right? I think biases mostly will uh, be categorized under correctness, but what about biases? Like, how would you identify? Like, 67 C's of communication is like from communicator to the receiver kind of thing, right?
Yes.
And then on the other hand, the receiver also had to reciprocate in kind of a similar fashion. But what about biases? Like, how would you identify biases in communication? I know it may be an advanced question, but something what I was thinking about.
Yes. So actually, we do have this particular line in the etiquette of communication, but yes, I'll take that question. Okay. So when it so generally when it comes to bias in the communication, so it can be again basis of different kinds. So it can be related to gender, it can be related to ethnicity, or it can be related to religion. So that we have different biases that can be done. So again, this is a very advanced topic for the people here, but to tackle those bias, or whenever you observe a communication in terms of bias, it's always make sure you identify first. I mean, if you're identifying that there is a bias in terms of communication, uh, as a resource or as an employee or as a person, first make sure you had that talk with another person, that yes, I feel there is something, some biasness or some difference that you are showing to me. If you have any issues with me, it's always better to sort this out. So that is one way of communicating with other person, saying that this is what I have observed. I'm thinking that you're showing me some difference, but I'm not liking it. It's always a great thing to have that communication. As you can say, a clarity. In seven C's, I would say giving a clarity to another person. So there is one more stage. If still that happens, it's good that you go to your boss, going ahead and inform, stating that this is the observations that I have. So this is again goes to based on the hierarchy, which is again an advanced topic for this. But that's how you tackle. That's how you handle a bias. So first, have that communication or a talk with an opposite person who's showing you a bias. If still that particular situation is not resolved, it's better you go to your lead or a manager and have a talk so that it's been corrected. I hope that
Thanks.
answers the question.
Yes, sir, that answers. It's all about before you put up an opinion, before you put up something, in a conversation, be fair enough to look at it from different angles, right?
Yes.
What kind of impact your words may have towards the direction of the conversation as well as on the latter person, right? So that's something we need to always make sure that we calculate. Thanks for bringing that, Sayed. Uh, yeah, I can ask 1,000 questions, 2,000 questions, but yeah, we're welcoming anyone else in the crowd who have a question on the floor before we move on to the next one. We will take one more question from anybody, right, in the list. Or Sayed, you're free to pick. Okay.
No, I mean, anyways, I mentioned that there's one more thing that needs to be done. So I'm expecting once that comes, we'll have a question. So just taking an interest of time, I'll just quickly move and we'll
Yes,
take all the
please.
questions last. Exactly.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. The next is methods or channels of communication. So just because I mentioned about a communication, that doesn't mean that you can communicate at least the business related things wherever you want. Okay, so now because we just maintaining in college level, we have a common WhatsApp group channel and we have an ST Peters HYD email. That doesn't mean that when you go to your office, you just go ahead and just communicate and WhatsApp everything, right? So there are few methods of communication there where we have to communicate. So first is email. So mostly for most of the office spaces, they use a Microsoft 365 account. So it's always Teams and Outlook. Only exception I would say the few companies like startups or Amazon. Amazon has a separate communication channel. Instead of Teams, Microsoft Teams, they use Chime. So those are a very few exceptions, but most of the offices would take a subscription from Microsoft. So for emails, mostly it will be Outlook. For communications or chats, mostly it will be Teams. Okay. So different ways of communication. One is email. Second is face to face. It's like a personal gathering, or else we I mean the one which we are having on a Saturday, that is also comes under face to face meeting. Video conference, that which we are taking right now, and telephone or conference calls. Again, conference calls is one of the example that we are taking right now. Telephone is generally a call, mostly a call. IM, instant messaging, is like as I mentioned, Teams. Teams is an example of instant messaging. Okay, and so there are few groups which have like the one which we have a SPECANCIENS WhatsApp group, right? So that is also one of example for instant messaging. But most of the most of the businesses or most of the companies would have a communication in Teams only. Okay, reports and documentation. So let's say we have a meeting and you just have to share this info to the leaders or the management that this has been discussed. the best way to share it is by reports and documentation. So it can be form of analysis, it can be a form of research findings. So there is something called root cause analysis, RCA. So doing a report or a documentation is one of the ways that to be shared with the senior management. Presentations, the one which you are viewing right now, passing on the information or having a communication or sharing the information using slides. Social media. So when it comes to social media, mostly it would be in terms of our, if I take an example of SPECANCIENS, so we do have a Facebook handle, we do have an Insta handle, and we do have a LinkedIn page to share details about the events in social media, right? So that is also one of the mode of communication, and it's for customer engagement mostly. So it's not internal, the social media thing is not internal, but it's to share info to all the customers or to all the followers that that are following our social handles. Okay. Intranet, again, a private network, it can be an internal communication, mostly a drive. So intranet is like a drive or only a group where a team will share their files. For example, social media team or reporting team, they would have a separate folder or a separate shared drive where they share the post or the MOMs, right? So that is also a way of communication. Newsletters is nothing but sharing the details, like in 3 months or past 6 months, what are the things that we have done. So, or what is the future plans the management has been deciding, uh, will be in a form of a newsletter. So newsletter is nothing but it would be like 3 to 4 slides. It will just give you a gist about what are the future plans or what are the past things that has been done. And coming to corporate blogs is like just sharing the insights or industry updates. So you would have, uh, you would have listened about the TCS results, or you would have heard about a company results that has been published for Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. So those communications will be mostly on a blog. So these are the different ways or different channels that that the business or people will communicate when it comes to a business. So moving on to the next, etiquettes of business communication. Okay, etiquettes of business communication. First is clarity and conciseness. As I already mentioned, it's always better you be clear with the statement and make it very simple and short so that you have an effective communication. Second is professional tone. Always maintain a professional and a respectful tone in all written and verbal communications. It's always keep using formal language and avoid slangs or over casually expressions, especially in written or verbal communications. So, for example, just because I know Akshay very well, that doesn't mean in a professional space I can go say, "Hey, Chicha, how are you? कैसा चल रहा है?" Because I can't have that tone. Okay, when it comes to a professional space, it's always important to maintain that respectful tone, because I know Akshay, it doesn't mean I can just go ahead and just say, क्या रे, चल रहा है क्या, चलो चाय पी के बात करेंगे. You can't speak in that way, right? So make sure you have that professional tone, give respect to that person's position, and have it a professional tone. Make sure you avoid grammar and spelling mistakes. So make sure you're not, I mean, before you speak anything or before you're typing an email and sharing with anyone, make sure you do that proofread or have, just think twice before you speak, because it is one of the ways that can jeopardize the situation. Just because just because you're thinking something to convey and it has been not properly communicated just because of a grammar, it's a big it's a big no situation. You'll not like that situation. Okay. Timeliness. So always respond to the messages in a timely manner. Always acknowledge receipt of emails promptly. So this is one thing where I would say not only the corporates, even in our team, it's always better to start having this habit of responding to messages. I'm not saying you guys are not doing it. I'm just saying that make sure everything has a deadline, guys. So there are few. So when we say we need this info in particular time, that doesn't mean that you just. I mean that doesn't mean you can just see it and you can just leave it. Even though you are working on it, you should at least give a response stating that okay, this is noted. I'm working on it, and it will just give us some time so that we can get back. Or else if you're not sure about the time, just mention expected time of delivery is by 10 p.m. or 9 p.m. We'll try to finish take this in priority as soon as possible. So it's always you respond to the messages in a timely manner, and it's always given acknowledgement to that person so that okay, the person can say okay, this is in the way and it will be delivered. So we will have that assurance ki okay, this has been taken care. So we need that assurances, guys. So it's always you respond with timeliness, use an appropriate language. So this is again one of the questions which Akshay has asked. No bias. So this particular topic is completely about biasness. Use a language that is appropriate for the context and audience. Avoid offensive or discriminatory language. So just because you are speaking to a girl or just because you are speaking to a boy, you can't be rude. Okay, so just make sure you are giving the answers appropriately. That is without offending people, without giving any discriminatory or racial slangs. Just make sure you speak whatever it is. And if someone says that, okay, I would expect this, make sure you change it and try to speak it effectively. Okay. See, many corporate, I mean, many office, you can say many office fights will start just because you are not properly addressing a person. Just because you made one bias statement, that one sentence will have a huge fight. And so again, for example, let's say I have 7 years of experience, and let's say Sahiti have just 1 year of experience. Sorry, Sahiti, I'm just taking your example, not in a literal way. I'm just taking an example.
No, no problem, Imran. That's not an issue.
Yeah. So let's say Sahiti has joined the organization in 1 year, and I've been in the organization for 7 years. And management is asking one thing, and just because I'm not free right now, I just go to Sahiti and just say, hey Sahiti, ఎట్లాగో పని లేదు కదా, or you just because you don't have any work, just do this for me and just get lost. So, see, that's not a right way of saying it. So here it it is like you are discriminating a person just because of their experience. So this is a very big no in a corporate or any business. It's not only corporate, not only office, anywhere. Even in SPECANCIENS, even the entity, even in college, it can be any group, any club. Using this kind of a tone is a big no. You are always supposed to have an appropriate language. Even if that person has 30 years experience, even that person has 1 day experience, it's always good that, see, instead of the previous example, I can just go to Saiti and say, hey Saiti, I know it's been an year only, and uh, sorry for giving you this task. Right now I'm a little busy, and just I just want you to take this particular task. If you have still have any questions, you can just reach me out. I'm ready to help. Just take this task. So if you see the difference, so first is like you are showing that arrogance. Second is like you're just having a talk with Sayati. Just take this particular things because I'm busy, and you're making assurance also that if you have any issues with that particular task, you're giving your assurance that you will help. So that kind of a language is expected when you have any communication with any other person. Okay. Next is meeting etiquette. Always be punctual to meetings, always contribute the discussions, and just don't stop it. If a person is trying to say a sentence, let him finish the sentence and then raise your hand for your questions. No questions will be unanswered. Every question will be answered. If there is any question that doesn't have an answer with us, we will still take that question. Whenever we find an answer, we will have a discussion again, but we will try to make sure your question is answered. That doesn't mean just because we have not answered your questions, or we are not giving we are not giving a time to answer your questions. That doesn't mean you can just stop abruptly in middle of a discussion and you can ask your question. So it's always better, let him finish the question. You will have a time for Q&A. It's always better to note that question down, and you can ask that particular question at the Q&A time. And most important, be punctual to meetings. And if you're late, just inform to the spectator or just inform to the moderator saying that so and so reason you're late. Just inform and just mention we will be there in 10 minutes. Okay, so it's always important to be punctual and also to inform if you're late. Next is professional greetings and sign off. It's always a good practice to have dear, sincerely, or best regards in emails. So this is just a common example. So my personal thing, whenever I drop an email or monthly, so we have a report that is should be published monthly to some X person. So it's all. So what I generally say is, "Hi, so and so. I hope you had a great month, great past month, or else hope you are doing well." So that is one professional greeting that I would use. So it's like you're checking with another person, like you're doing great. I hope you're doing great, and this is the thing. And always end with a statement that if you have any questions, reach out to me or reach out to this person. So, so sorry. So it's always important to have a sign off and a professional greeting, so that you will not sound rude, or you will not the communication that has been done is not a robotic. It sounds very silly when I say, but trust me guys, there are days where some people ask me to write a professional greeting just because my email was robotic. I had that experience. So it's always good practice to use a professional greeting like hi, hello, and hope you're doing well, or hope you had a great weekend, or have a great weekend ahead. So it's any kind of a sign off or any type of a greeting is a good practice to have in terms of an email communications. Subject lines, make it clear, relevant to subject lines. If you're dropping an email about MOM, or if you're dropping about report, just mention MOM report hyphen business communication day one, or else MOM report hyphen agile day one, or MOM report UDYAM day one. So make it very crisp. You don't have to write a statement in a subject line stating that this is the report that has been drafted for UDYAM day one for agile workshop, or agile methodology. So you're not supposed to write a sentence in your subject line. I know, I mean, majority of them are good at email writing again, but subject line is one of such important thing, guys. Make it very crisp. Respect for privacy. If there is any confidential information, make sure you are giving that not sharing it with others without any proper authorization. Always listen and have your attention, so that if you have any questions or if there is any misses in the data, that will actually help. Professional formatting, use a standard fonts like Calibri 11 or Sans, Verdana. So you have some a few standard fonts for communication. So most of them it's Calibri 11 for majority. So Calibri 11, or there are few I mean, there are few fonts, but majority is Calibri 11 that we use in a business communications. Acknowledgement of receipt. Again, I mentioned always acknowledgement your communication whenever it is received. That gives a sense that okay, this has been done and taken care by someone. So that acknowledgement is important. Yep.